The Washington Football Maniacs.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs, where we talk about everything that has to do with the Commanders. And just if you enjoy this video, please make sure that you have subscribed. And with that said, let's get on with it. So Friday night, I decided I was going to wait a couple of days before I put out and piled on, I think, with the loss that we had in the preseason opener between the New England Patriots. The Commanders sat about 30 players, basically 30 players that are either starters or will get a lot of playing time. Very important players. Basically, none of them played, except for, of course, our rookies, and we'll get into that as well. But Sam Hartman started off. He was a starting quarterback for Friday night. Kind of an up and down night for Sam Hartman. I felt like he redeemed himself pretty much on that last drive. He also had quite a few drops from his receivers. The receivers really were not making a case as to, not having to worry about Terry McLaurin, because the receivers that were in there just playing out wasn't really hitting on much. However, Ja'Cory Brooks, if we can, every cloud has a silver lining, right? And Ja'Cory Brooks, he had 5 receptions for 59 yards. So he led all the receivers. Tay Martin came in as second with 3 receptions. So, some of our young guys coming out there playing pretty well. But then again, just sloppy all around. Penalties, I think we had, what was it, 13 penalties for about 98 yards. And a lot of different types of penalties, a lot of pre-snap penalties. Really, for the most part, it was penalties that, as Coach Quinn said, were just concentration penalties. Not really focusing on what they should. So, yeah, and as he said, it kind of chapped his booty. The things like that just really got under his skin. Very sloppy overall for the Washington Commanders coming out. Again, you were looking at 2 different organizations that viewed this game 2 different ways. You had the Washington Commanders coming out and wanting to see what their second, third, fourth string players could do, and really wanting to preserve and rest their starters as much as possible, and of course also their rotation players as well. Not really game planning, but just kind of putting players in situational positions, which honestly that's kind of what you do in preseason. Whereas on the other side, it looked like New England kind of game planned and had a game plan in place that they were going to execute, and they executed pretty well. I thought Drake May played really well in that first half for the Patriots. One thing that really bugged me and surprised me was our special teams. Special teams was awful. I felt most of the night just terrible. And honestly, field goal kicking. We had 2 field goal kickers last year. Now, I know that Siebert kind of got crucified for missing that extra point last year against Dallas that could have sent the game into overtime. But, for the most part, and I was saying this last year in a lot of our Maniacs videos, that I thought he played well. He was kicking well. He won us the game against the Giants earlier in the season. But there were a lot of people who are down on Siebert, and then we got rid of him, brought in another, and I just felt like field goal kicking was decent, but maybe a lot of us tend to downplay the ability to actually get a good field goal kicker. But then it's like, you bring in Gay, and he misses a field goal for us. He did get one field goal last night. Um, so you feel like, is he really any better than what we had last year? Probably not. But then you look at the field goal kicker from the Jacksonville Jaguars kicking a 70-yard field goal attempt. I mean, my goodness. I feel like in the coming years, as players evolve, especially field goal kickers, because it used to be when I was growing up watching football in the 80s, if you kicked a field goal that was 40 plus, that was pretty big. I mean, that was a hard field goal to make. Nowadays, field goals within the 40-yard range, 40 to 50, should be considered automatic. I mean, that's how far that these field goal kickers have progressed, and even a lot of 50 plus field goals. Usually if it's between 50 and 55, you're going to see them make those more times than not. And we've seen them make over 60, but 70. Wow. I mean, pretty soon it's going to get to the point to where a team just needs to maybe get a first down or two, a couple of 10-yard rushes, and then you can kick a field goal at the 50-yard line or in your own territory and score points. I feel like that's what we're moving to. But anyway, yeah, field goal kicking has always been something I feel like in the past few years we need a good field goal kicker. Back in the early 90s, during the Super Bowl run, especially when Washington was so good, they won a lot of games because of Chip Lohmiller. Lohmiller was an excellent field goal kicker for us. I felt like he was probably the best field goal kicker we had since Mark Mosley, And so ever since then, you kind of feel like, field goal kickers, when you get one that's decent, that honestly, people were complaining if a field goal kicker had missed 3 field goals out of 10. And I'm like, I like those odds better, but we'll just have to see. This whole video is not about field goal kicking, but still, special teams. And that's kind of where we got here. Just talking about the special teams and allowing the Patriots to run it back for 6 on the opening kickoff, and just even the next kickoff. It was not a good outing for special teams. And you feel like, if anything, special teams should always be solid. So I was a little disappointed with that. Defense. All right. When Trey Amos was out there, we all know he's going to be a starter. Really no yards on him whatsoever. I mean, he was excellent. I wanted to see how he played, and he did not disappoint whatsoever. He is definitely going to be a starter. He's going to have his side locked down. I'm still looking at our secondary being one of the best secondaries in the league. I really feel that that's going to happen. And so I was very happy to see Trey Amos deliver the way he did. Johnny Newton played a heck of a game as well. And Johnny, of course, he's nobody new, but he's going to get some increased playing time now that we have Jonathan Allen gone. You have him and Deron Payne up there on the front line, and I loved seeing what I saw out of Johnny Newton Friday night. That was one of the bright spots as well. Another bright spot, certainly, if we switch back to offense, talking about Bill Merritt. I guess that's a lot easier to call him Bill Merritt as far as Jacory, Krosky Merritt, JCM. That's what I was going to call him. But now somehow, someone in the comments can tell me how we came to Bill, but Bill's fine with me. Bill Merritt. So he showed a little bit of what he could do. And I loved his running style, kind of a slasher type running style, but he also ran with power. he was very tough to get down. He was not someone who was going to, kind of go down after the first hit. I mean, the dude was kind of like a pinball machine, right? I mean, like pinball, he just kind of bounced off of tackles and kept going and fought for some extra yards. But, what I liked else about that is the fact that he did that without fumbling or causing turnovers and stuff like that. So, JCM certainly big, big. Connerly as well. Connerly, I guess you would call him. You didn't hear much because you saw that he was really doing a very fine job on the offensive line. And so, and you you certainly want to see that with him being our first rounder. So I was happy to see that. I really think we're going to have a tremendous offensive line this year. Of course, we didn't have Tunsil starting. A lot of our starters on the offensive line were out, but we want to see what our rookies could do. Carnley had a fantastic night as well. So, four guys, Bill Merritt, Trey Amos, Johnny Newton, Josh Connerly. Those guys I thought really played well. And you had some other guys who came in and made some decent plays. My favorite Noah, besides Noah Brown, Igbanigny. I would never be able to pronounce his name. Someone on I think Twitter kind of gave me the pronunciation, and I've been trying to practice it. So I'm going to try it one more time. Igbanigny. Is that getting close? I said before, I was like, if he's going to keep making plays, he's going to make the team. Then it's my responsibility to know how to pronounce his last name. But he was all over the field. Noah was, and I really think that he's going to produce some quality minutes for us. He played pretty well, I thought, last year when he had to get thrown in, especially with injuries and ineffective play from other defensive backs and that sort of thing. But my hat's off to Noah. I thought he did a great job last night. He was making plays tough to make plays on him, blanketing receivers. I mean, you couldn't ask for more out of him. So I was really pleased. As far as my other notes, again, pre-snap penalties were killers, but the good thing, no major injuries. I think that was the biggest thing. I was holding my breath when they talked about Bill Merritt going into the blue tent. I was very nervous about that. Turned out to be kind of basically just a sore shoulder, and so he's going to be just fine. Josh Johnson, I know I'm kind of bouncing around, but I'm just, as I see things are jumping out me with my notes, I just have to talk about Josh Johnson. I thought played really well. Now, yeah, certainly some of those pre-snap penalties and stuff were there, both with Sam Hartman as well, but Josh Johnson, they still had some sloppiness. But Josh, you could tell that he had the poise of a veteran quarterback going out there, and he threw the ball really well. Had a lot of drops from receivers. I mean, so did Sam Hartman, but Sam also struggled with a lot of his passes. Josh was a little bit more on target with his. I thought he played well. I thought he made some really good decisions. If there is a battle, for that third quarterback position right now, I would say that Josh Johnson is light years ahead of Sam Hartman. And that, ladies, I hate to say that. I know that you ladies like Sam Hartman. He's a cool dude, but when it comes down to it, you got to have the best players in those positions. And right now, Josh Johnson, I think, played really well. But I do want to see Marcus Mariota. I think it's important for him to come in and get some snaps, and hopefully he's healthy because I feel like at some point down the road, you are going to need a Marcus Mariota to be able to come out there and play well for you. So overall, it was a rough game to watch, a very rough game to watch. But you also got to understand, folks, that yes, it's preseason, and I've seen comments back and forth about yes, it's only preseason. Let's not, jump off the cliff or anything like that. But then you also see other people like, yeah, but still, this stuff kind of carries on into the regular season, and some of this stuff is poor coaching. Yes, you maybe you can blame it on poor coaching, but at the same time, I find it hard to believe that our coaches just suddenly forgot how to coach, especially in a preseason game after taking them as far as they did last year. No, I would probably say this is more on inexperienced young talent who, they hadn't really been hit up until this point, hadn't played in the game up until this point, and even like some of these who were college players last year, that it's taken them even longer to get into a real game. And so there was probably a lot of nerves, butterflies in the stomach, so to speak. And just, yeah, I mean, they played pretty rough. They really did. But again, let's not read a whole lot into preseason because I can give you a great example. Okay. So back in the 91 season, actually two great examples. Back in the 91 season, I remember Joe Gibbs talking about installing a little bit more of a shift type of offense. This is something you really didn't see with the Redskins before, but what they would do, they would kind of line up, and then Rippon would call for kind of like an audible in the shifted alignments, and you'd see them kind of shift and a lot of movement pre-snap. And they were really working on a lot of that in preseason, and preseason stunk for them. I mean, I think I remember one game, I could be mistaken, but I felt like it was one game where they got blown out, like no points scored whatsoever. It was horrible. I don't even think I watched that game, to be honest with you, but I remember seeing the score. And then when the season started with them blowing out the Detroit Lions, and then, as it went on, that turned out to be one of the probably the most dominant Redskins team I'd ever watched in my lifetime. And so, they finished it off with a Super Bowl victory. So that's why I'm saying you can't read a whole lot into preseason, even though there are some things that we need to look at as far as just not sure about that. And another example I had, the old ball coach, I believe this was his first year. They went to Japan to play preseason game against the San Francisco 49ers. And the Washington Redskins just really, I mean, they ripped them up. It was like 40-some to, I can't remember the score, but it was a lopsided victory for the Redskins. Turned out to not be that way when everything was actually, live and real regular season. That was, what year was that? That was probably like 2003, 2002, somewhere around there. 2002, I think it was. And so I don't really remember how good the 49ers were in the early 2000s, but they were much better than the Skins were at that point. So things took a completely different shift. So all that to say, let's just pump our brakes on things. Look at focusing on what is positive. The positive thing is we have a rookie corner who's probably going to wind up playing really well for us this year and solidifying that secondary. We have another guy in our backfield who I think, honestly, if he stays healthy, he's probably going to wind up starting some games toward the mid of the season. No, that's not to say I think that Brian Robinson Jr. is going to play really well as well, and Eckler always plays well. But I think you're really going to see Bill Merritt coming out and really showing what he can do. He called a pass as well, so I'm excited to see him. And then, of course, Newton. We know what we can see out of him. Carnley, guys like that. I mean, a lot of our rookies as well. Ja'Cory Brooks played really well. I think the only disappointment I probably had with a lot of our rookies, one that I really wanted to see what would happen, Jalen Lane. I think he was targeted maybe like one time. I hardly ever saw him on the field. Didn't really do a whole lot. And so I'd like to see a little bit more out of him. I know a lot of people, myself included, were excited to see what Jalen Lane could do, but really didn't see much. Maybe we'll see a little bit more with him if we get a chance to see Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota, probably more Mariota than Daniels, honestly, get in there and play some, because I feel like that's when you're going to put somebody like Jalen Lane on the field to see what he can do. So all of that to say, it was ugly, it was rough, and it was probably not what we wanted to see coming from our favorite team. But, it is what it is. I do think that we're going to see some more positivity as we go into the season. But, again, we haven't seen any of our starters play. No Zach Ertz. Of course, Terry is still out with, his ankle injury, but of course, this whole thing with his contract. We want to see what Deebo Samuel can do in this offense. Of course, Jaden Daniels, we want to be able to, just want to make sure that magic is still going on in his sophomore year. So, not to worry, folks. I think things are heading on up. And yeah, again, it's rough to see. We're all excited about watching football, and then we see them on the field, and it's like, oh, this is terrible. It's like maybe they need another month. Maybe they need another 3 or 4 preseason games to really get it worked out. But again, each coaching staff takes kind of a different approach to the preseason. You have several coaching staffs who, no matter what, they're going to bring their starters out and let them play a little bit in the early going, and then they'll sit them. You have others like what Dan Quinn did. They're sitting everybody basically and just letting the bubble guys and rookies and people like that play in that first game. I think as well, people have got to think about this. Now, there had been some talk from the Washington media that it's doing a disservice to Jaden Daniels and company by not playing them in preseason as much as they should. But here's the other thing. If you just look at the Detroit Lions game, you see a very, very serious injury that happened there, and it's in preseason. The case of point is you have a lot of inexperienced players at this level. And because of that inexperience, yes, I know they probably played so many football games in college and, and stuff like that. So they're not inexperienced to the game of football, but they're inexperienced to the game of football on the NFL level. And because that they're inexperienced, that can also lead to some injuries and, just bad decisions or ineffective techniques and things like that could really make things dangerous for other players. And often I feel like that's the reason why that you see injuries in preseason, is because you do have a lot of inexperienced people on this level who are trying their best to make a play. But because the game is faster and you got some bigger guys and guys who just seem like they hit harder in the NFL and that sort of thing, that opens up a case for injuries. So because of that, you want to shield your starters, especially your franchise guys, from that as much as possible. But you do understand you do have to get them in there and get them into the flow of the game and the next season. I totally get that as well. It's a balancing act that these coaches have to do, and it's kind of difficult. It really is. But you know what? Our next game, I believe, is on a Monday night, so we got about a week, I guess, to really focus on getting some guys ready. I feel like you're going to see Washington play a little bit more of their starters. I mean, actually, the second game of the preseason now is more or less your dress rehearsal. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that is the game against the Bengals. So you are going to see Jaden Daniels out there some. Zach Ertz and B Rob and those guys like that. I'm really hoping and praying that by that game, we will know the fate of Terry McLaurin. I really want him back on the field. I just want that whole situation done. But I would say that after this past game, there isn't a lot of depth. One guy I didn't mention, and I have to reverse back a little bit, Luke McCaffrey. I know a lot of people, again, I had a video on why is it that some people want to see him fail so much? And they're probably gloating because he didn't really play much at all and was taken out of the game. And it was because of sickness. He was ill. He tried to go, he made a catch or so, but really he was ill. He couldn't play very well that night. And so, besides him and, Noah Brown and Deebo Samuel, we do need Terry McLaurin. We need him. It doesn't make sense for me, or honestly, it doesn't make sense to me at all that you don't sign him. But I'm hoping we'll hear something this week, and I'll definitely, you know me, I'm going to talk about it if I do hear something. So, folks, yeah, let's put this behind us. I wanted to wait about a couple of days to release this. Also, I know this video has gotten pretty long, but I have to say this. Thank you for all those who, sent their thoughts and prayers to me and my family. For those who don't know, my wife and son was involved in a serious car accident Thursday. Everybody's fine for the most part. My wife is pretty banged up, but she's making it. It was a very intense time for us. It's going to be a long road. It's going to be a fight to hopefully make our family whole again from this accident. But I just wanted to say I appreciate those who sent out prayers and thoughts and nice memos on that. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate every one of you who tune in to watch Maniacs. Really, I love talking football, love talking Commanders football. And so, and I just love it when guys put in comments and they talk about it too. Even if we don't always agree, it's still fun because you know what, how much fun is it if we all agree about football, right? You get no good conversations from all that. So I really appreciate that, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the game. I know you probably didn't have much thought to it. Let me know your thoughts about the upcoming games. Let me know also what type of videos, what would you like for me to cover? I would love to do a video for basically, this is for you guys. So you let me know in the comments what you would like to see me cover as far as content in the next video. And I'll see, if we get enough comments on that, I'll see if I could put a video out for you. But also, if you are enjoying this content, please make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell for all videos. And that way you won't miss any other Maniacs videos. Folks, thank you for listening to me jibber jabber about the Commanders and the Patriots. Don't want to hear about that anymore. We'll be talking about hopefully some more positive stuff this week. So take care. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you in the next one.